Thanks very much. And in my 49th year, I'm absolutely delighted. It's always a treat to come back to Barnsley because you cheer us up and you go away with a smile. And so thanks again for the invitation, Ronnie and everyone. And it couldn't be a greater pleasure than to come here and remember the great Brian Glover and to honour him in this way. And just following on from a word from what Joe said, Joe Rollins, about Orgreave and Hillsborough, and it's terrific that Brian was such a great supporter of the Peace and Justice campaign, because that's a campaign we've still got to win. But there's one big difference between Orgreave and Hillsborough. Hillsborough was a cover-up from terrible negligence. Orgreave is a cover-up of a crime. An intended crime. And thank God no one died, but it wasn't thanks to the brutal police, Maggie Thatcher's boot boys, as we called them at the time. So we have to win the Orgreave campaign, Joe. Well said. I first met Brian through Barry Hines, who, as you know, taught in Barnsley, and he said he'd written a book, and we were delighted to be doing it. I mean, such a wonderful book. And we tried to cast it from everybody in the area, everybody in the town, as far as we could. And Barry said, I know someone for the games master, Mr. Sugden. He said he teaches English at a local school. So we met Brian, and of course he was an all-in wrestler. He said, I wrestle under the name of Leon Aris. I said, Leon Aris, why that? He said, well, Leon Aris, France. He said, he didn't turn up one night, so I had to go on as him in a mask. And since then, he's been Leon Aris. And we love the idea of him wrestling in the night and then singing All Things Bright and Beautiful in the assembly next morning. He was. We did a few trials, and he was obviously the man for the job. And he played it with the skills he'd learned both as a wrestler and as a teacher of English. And we weren't quite sure how the skills interlap, which he'd learned from wrestling and which he taught from teaching the kids. But he was very funny. I mean, he had such natural humour and natural timing. When you in the football scene, most of the lines, of course, are in Barry's book, but one or two of them are pure Brian. When he sends Tebbert off for bad language, he says, "You'll play this game like gentlemen," having kicked the kids off the ground for most of the game. But he was a joy to be with, and we stayed in touch over the years from time to time. Of course, he became very well known. He became a national figure. I mean, in that awful phrase I hate, they would call him a national treasure. They call him a national treasure, but forget that he was a man of the left. He was a principled man, as well as being a great actor and a good comic. But he was a principled man, and that's why we honour him, really, because he wasn't just funny, he wasn't just good company, he was a man of principle, and that's why we honour him. He became very well known as selling Tetley tea bags and the official Yorkshireman, he did most of his work for the National Theatre, did many great performances. David's nicked my story of the Yorkshire Mystery Plays, where typically he played God, claiming that God was a Yorkshireman, and sailed off into the heavens on a forklift truck. And if there's one abiding image that we'll have of Brian when we reveal the plaque that has been so widely put up, it's a Brian looking down with a smile on his face, but his fist in the air. Cheers. Remember Brian.